truth. What is truth? How does one find truth? These were the questions asked long ago by one searcher. The questions that would lead him to a path greater than he could have ever imagined. His name was Rusbeh. Born in Isfahan to a wealthy and noble family, Rusbeh was the apple of his father's eye. A bright and gifted child, Rusbeh was being prepared to take over from his father one day, but Rusbeh's heart always yearned for something greater. Now, Rusbeh's father followed the Majusi religion, and whenever he would take Rusbeh for worship, Rusbeh would interrogate the priests, questioning the Majusi religious doctrine, often to their dismay. The answers and explanations failed to satisfy Rusbeh, and the fire within him continued to grow. One day, Rusbeh's father was to go away for business, and he instructed his servants to take good care of his son and ensure he doesn't leave the home unnecessarily. No sooner had his father left that Rusbeh's restless heart brought him out to begin his destined journey. As Rusbeh walked, he heard sounds foreign to his ears, but native to his soul. No sooner had he followed these sounds that he came upon a monastery. As he entered, he came upon people chanting and reading a book. "Who are you? What is this book? What religion is this?" he asked. And so began a long conversation in which Rusbeh's questions were answered one by one. Rusbeh had stumbled upon a church, and the men were priests practicing the religion of Abraham and Moses. Rusbeh was impressed and declared his belief there and then. Now, whilst Rusbeh was in church, his father had returned and asked the servants where his beloved son is. The servants were not able to answer, and so they were sent to search for him. But not thinking to look in the church, they returned without him. During the commotion that followed, Rusbeh returned home. His father, relieved, asked him where he had been. But after hearing Rusbeh's answer and discovering that he now followed a different faith, his father's anger was reignited, and Rusbeh was imprisoned by him. What irony! When the body was free, the soul was imprisoned, and now the soul is free. The body has been imprisoned. But where there is a will, there is a way. And Rusbeh managed to escape home and headed towards Sham in search of the truth. There he eventually met his teacher, who guided him and taught him the way. But no sooner had Rusbeh found what he was looking for than it was taken away from him. His teacher passed away, but before he passed, he instructed Rusbeh to go to a teacher in Mosul, in modern-day Iraq. So Rusbeh uprooted and made his way to Mosul. And so began a series of events where Rusbeh found a teacher, only for that teacher to pass away and him to be directed to the next one, until he reached Rome. When in Rome on his deathbed, his teacher declared, "There is no one following the religion of Abraham and Moses, so go to Arabia, to the land of black mountains and date trees, for verily a prophet will come there." "But how will I recognize him?" he asked. "He will not accept charity, but will only accept gifts, and on his back, between his shoulders, will be the mark of prophethood." So Rusbeh gathered his belongings and waited for news of anyone traveling to Arabia, and as destiny would have it, he found such a group. He paid them handsomely to take him with them to Arabia, and these people took the payment and gave Rusbeh a place within the group. But the path to the truth can be cruel, and often the hearts of men incline to evil. As soon as they entered Arabia, these men enslaved Rusbeh and sold him to a Jewish man. The Jewish man then put Rusbeh to work in his orchard. The boy, who was surrounded by servants and slaves, was now a slave himself. But Rusbeh endured, and his mission endured. One day, his master's relative visited him and observed Rusbeh. After observing him, he turned to Rusbeh's master and said, "Your servant is hard-working. Will you sell him to me?" Rusbeh's master agreed, and Rusbeh was sold, the bondage of slavery remaining unbroken. But destiny is strange, for Rusbeh could not have helped but smile when he saw the black mountains and date trees as he approached the hometown of his new master. Upon his arrival, Rusbeh sought any news that a prophet had arisen, but was disappointed when no such news came. Disappointed but not deterred, Rusbeh carried on, knowing that with each passing day he grew closer and closer. One fateful day, as Rusbeh stood atop a date tree carrying out his work, he heard faint murmurs beneath him. "Have you heard what these Arabs have done? They have taken a prophet from amongst themselves." Hearing these words, the fire with Rusbeh began to roar, and he quickly climbed down to confirm the news his ears had long yearned to hear. But his eagerness was met with fury, with his master chastising him and sending him back to work. When news spread within Medina of the unlettered prophet, Rusbeh gathered some dates and recommenced his mission. He approached the prophet and offered the dates as charity, and observed as this man distributed it among the people, taking no share for himself. He then visited him again, making a similar offering, but this time as a gift. The man again distributed the food, this time taking some for himself. 2 of 3 conditions had been met. Finally, Rusbeh entered upon the man a final time. He observed him for a while from behind, and finally his eyes set upon the one thing between him and accomplishing his mission, the stamp of prophethood. Rusbeh, overcome with happiness and passion, embraced the prophet and declared his belief. The prophet, seeing this man who was clearly foreign, asked him about himself, but Rusbeh could only speak in his native Persian language. To solve this, a translator was called who could speak both languages. A non-believing man was found, who began translating for Rusbeh. But as Rusbeh's story went on, it became apparent to this man this story was testifying to the truth of the prophet, and so he began to distort and falsify what was being said. Upon hearing this distorted story, the prophet fell silent, as did those around him. He then raised his head and told the man that he was lying. The man, shocked that his deceit had been caught, asked why he was summoned if the prophet could speak Persian. The prophet declared that I can't speak Persian, but Jibreel has come and told me his story. Hearing these words, the arrogance of the man broke, and he also embraced Islam. So Rusbeh found the truth. But what of those who find the truth? Does their mission end? Is finding the truth enough? Not for Rusbeh, whose mission now became to defend and spread the truth he so longed to find. Rusbeh had found the truth, finding it in a foreign land with foreign people. But while Rusbeh's tumultuous soul screamed, his tongue could not give form to the fervent fire that was now raging within him, as Rusbeh was unable to speak the Arabic language. But just as the prophet had liberated his soul, he liberated Rusbeh's tongue by placing his blessed saliva in his mouth, imbuing him with the ability to speak Arabic and allowing Rusbeh to tell the prophet his chronicle. But alas, although his tongue was free, he was still shackled by the slavery of his physical being. As such, he was not able to assist the Muslims during the early battles of Islam. Lamenting his predicament, he complained to the prophet of his condition. The prophet urged Rusbeh to negotiate with his master. "I will free you in exchange for 300 date trees and 40 pieces of silver," his master avowed. In response, the prophet ordered 300 ditches to be dug and placed in all but 1 date plants, and all but 1 tree sprouted. The prophet then placed his blessed saliva on the plant, and as this saliva had liberated Rusbeh's tongue, allowing him to speak Arabic, it liberated the plant, breathing into it the life the earth could not. When digging the ditches, a believer found a small nugget of gold which was exchanged for 40 silver coins. And with this, Rusbeh was free. But the joy was short-lived, for the clans had united under the flag of disbelief to lay siege to the Muslims and eradicate Islam. They possessed the greater numbers, the greater resources, and the greater experience. But alas, the believers now possessed Rusbeh. Rusbeh informed the prophet that when faced with similar circumstances, his people used to construct trenches to nullify the enemy's advantage. With the approval of the prophet, the digging began. As the believers dug deeper, so did their love for Rusbeh. "Rusbeh is one of us," one group declared. "Nay, rather he is from us," another group declared. Amongst the playful tug spoke the prophet, "No, he is from my family." Rusbeh, in a foreign land with a foreign people, found a family, and that too with the prophet of God. This honor, if not already earned, was deserved as the siege of the unbelievers was unsuccessful, with a powerful wind driving them out of the Muslim lands for good. This battle would go on to be known as the Battle of Khandak, the Battle of the Trench, in honor of Rusbeh's wisdom. But this did not spell the end of the trouble for the Muslims nor Rusbeh, and Rusbeh went on to fight in many battles to defend Islam and his beloved prophet. And with each battle, the Muslims grew stronger, and the truth would become more manifest, until the light of truth liberated Makkah from idolatry and took its place in the house of Allah. And just as with Ruzbey's liberation, the liberation of the house of God from falsehood followed with an opportunity for Ruzbey, the seeker of truth, to shine. The Muslims, after success in the Battle of Hunain, besieged Taif. But Taif was a stronghold, and the remaining remnants of falsehood sought shelter in its walls. Perplexed, the Muslim army did not know how to pierce the fortress, nor did they have the provisions for a long siege. With defeat on the horizon, Ruzbey emerged with the solution. Ruzbey suggested using manajik, what we know as catapults, but something unknown to the Arabs of the time. He oversaw its construction and directed them to be used to destroy the main gate, and with that, falsehood was eradicated in the land. With the defeat of falsehood remained but one thing: the completion of the truth. Soon after, the prophet delivered his last revelation, and after having completed his mission, returned to his Lord. And as before, Ruzbey had found his master, only for him to be separated from him in the physical realm. But this separation was not like the ones before, and Ruzbey never remained as the Ruzbey of before. Unable to bear the grief, Ruzbey moved to Mada'an and lived a simple life, waiting for the day he would be reunited with his Lord and his beloved prophet. You may ask yourself, why have I never heard of Ruzbey till this day? Well, because one detail of this story was not revealed. Because when Ruzbey declared his faith, as with Islam, everything prior is wiped. And Ruzbey was given a new name by the beloved prophet, a name that would become widely known just like the truth he defended and spread. His name is Salman, Salman al-Khair, Salman al-Farsi.